12 Stoic lessons that will change how you carry yourself forever. Hey, Stoic warrior, we live in a world where everyone is chasing something: attention, validation, comfort, or success. People run faster, shout louder, and explain themselves endlessly, hoping the world will finally recognize their worth. But the Stoic doesn't play that game. A Stoic doesn't need to beg for attention or chase validation, because his worth is not up for debate. His peace doesn't depend on the noise of the world, but on the clarity within himself. Now, here's the truth. Most people rush when they're hurt, react when they're provoked, and crumble when they're misunderstood. They throw away their inner power by giving it to the things they can't control. But the Stoic? He knows the battlefield is not out there, it's in here, in the mind. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So today, we're diving into 12 timeless Stoic lessons, truths that will help you stand unshaken, carry yourself with dignity, and reclaim the strength that's already inside you. If you're tired of being pulled by every opinion, if you've been exhausted by chasing things that never gave you peace, this is the reminder you didn't know you needed. Before we dive in, do me one favor. Like this video if it already resonates. Drop your affirmations in the comments as we go, and subscribe to Sculpted Grace for more Stoic wisdom every single week. And most importantly, don't skip a single lesson, because one idea, one shift in perspective could change how you carry yourself forever. Let's begin. 1. Control what you can. Release what you can't. Most people wake up and immediately hand their peace over to the world. They worry about the weather, the traffic, the news, or what someone might post online. Their mood rises and falls with circumstances they cannot command. Epictetus warned us clearly, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we truly have. Think about it. How many times have you lost a whole day's peace because someone didn't reply to a message, or because a colleague said something careless? That's not power. That's slavery to things beyond you. A Stoic, however, draws a firm line. He asks himself daily, what is truly mine to govern? The answer is always the same. My choices, my actions, my responses. Nothing else belongs to me. And once I accept that, I become untouchable by the chaos around me. Consider an athlete who prepares for a big competition. He cannot control the weather, the day of the game, the decisions of the referees, or the skill level of his opponent. If he wastes energy obsessing over those things, he enters the field already defeated. But if he channels his focus into what he can control, his training, his mindset, his discipline, then regardless of the outcome, he has already won in character. Life works the same way. Every time you choose to focus on your inner domain instead of the outer storms, you're reclaiming your freedom. You stop bleeding energy into things you never had power over, and instead, you direct it into building the kind of life no one can take from you. This is the foundation of Stoicism. True control is not about commanding the external world, but about mastering yourself within it. 2. Discomfort is a teacher, not an enemy. Our natural instinct is to run from pain, to avoid discomfort, to cling to what feels easy. But the Stoics knew that this instinct often works against us. Comfort can be a silent poison, softening our will and weakening our resilience. Seneca reminded his students to practice hardship deliberately, to sleep on the floor, eat plain food, or walk barefoot. not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he understood it was training for the inevitable trials of life. Discomfort, when embraced, strips us of illusion and exposes what we are really made of. Think of the modern world. Gyms are filled with people voluntarily lifting weights, deliberately creating resistance so their bodies grow stronger. The same principle applies to the mind. Every challenge you accept, every hard choice you face instead of avoiding, becomes a form of strength training for your character. Maybe it's speaking up when it feels easier to stay silent, waking early to pursue a goal, or having a difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is the coach. The person who learns to endure difficulty doesn't just survive life. They thrive in it because they've trained themselves to see struggle not as punishment, but as preparation. 3. Anger is a self-inflicted wound. Anger is one of the most destructive forces within us. It arrives quickly, burns hot, and leaves ruin in its wake. The Stoics warned that when you give in to anger, you are not punishing others, you are poisoning yourself. Seneca wrote extensively on anger, calling it a form of temporary madness where reason is eclipsed by rage. Think about it. How many friendships, careers, or families have been shattered by words spoken in anger? Once released, they can't be recalled. What was a moment of irritation becomes a lifetime of regret. Imagine two people in traffic. One rages, honking, shouting, pounding the steering wheel. The other sits calmly, listening to music, unmoved by the same delay. The situation is identical, yet the outcomes are worlds apart. The Stoic strives to be the second driver. He knows that anger gives away his freedom, handing control of his emotions to an external trigger. Instead, he practices the pause, that moment between stimulus and response, and chooses reason over rage. To conquer anger is not to suppress it, but to master it, to redirect its fire into fuel for discipline and justice rather than destruction. Anger left unchecked enslaves you. Anger mastered frees you. 4. Everything you have is borrowed. The Stoics urged us to remember a simple but unsettling truth. Nothing we have is truly ours. Our wealth, our health, our loved ones, even our very breath, all are borrowed from life, to be returned at any moment without notice. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that his child, his wife, even his throne were not permanent possessions, but gifts on loan. By living with this awareness, he found gratitude instead of entitlement, presence instead of neglect. Consider someone holding a delicate glass on loan from a friend. They would handle it with care, appreciating its beauty while they had it. That is how we should treat everything in life. When you see your family, remember, this moment may be the last, so let there be no wasted words or careless neglect. When you enjoy a meal, taste it as though it may never come again. This perspective doesn't lead to despair. It deepens appreciation. Knowing everything is borrowed transforms ordinary days into sacred gifts. And when life finally asks for something back, you release it with grace, because you knew all along it was never yours to keep. 5. Death is a reminder, not a curse. Most people live as if death is something far away, a distant shadow that will never quite reach them. Yet the Stoics urged us to remember our mortality daily. They called it memento mori, the practice of remembering you will die. To some this sounds morbid, but the Stoics saw it as the ultimate source of clarity. When you know time is limited, trivial concerns fall away, and life's true priorities rise to the surface. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Death isn't a curse. It is a compass. Picture two lives. One belongs to a person who drifts, wasting years on meaningless pursuits, convinced there will always be more time. The other belongs to someone who has faced death honestly. This person loves deeply, works with purpose, and does not postpone joy for tomorrow. Which life would you rather live? Death reminds us that time is not a guarantee, but a gift. It asks us, if today were your last, would you be proud of how you lived it? To remember, death is to honor life, because every moment becomes precious when you know it cannot last forever. 6. Happiness comes from virtue, not wealth. Society constantly whispers that happiness lies in wealth, fame, and possessions. Buy more, earn more, and only then will you be satisfied. But the Stoics rejected this lie. They taught that true happiness comes from virtue, from living with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men of Rome, admitted openly that riches never guaranteed peace. Instead, peace came from knowing you lived with integrity no matter what you owned. Think of someone with enormous wealth but no discipline, constantly chasing the next thrill, restless even in luxury. Then imagine a person of modest means who lives by principle, who treats others fairly, faces fear with courage, and governs their desires. Which one is truly free? Which one sleeps well at night? The Stoics remind us that external fortune is a slippery foundation. It can vanish in an instant. But virtue, once cultivated, cannot be stolen. It is the only form of wealth that compounds over a lifetime, giving you a happiness untouched by the rise and fall of circumstance. 7. Desires are never-ending chains. Desire is a powerful force, but left unchecked, it enslaves us. The Stoics compared endless desire to drinking salt water. The more you consume, the thirstier you become. Today, this is more visible than ever. Social media, advertisements, and consumer culture train us to always want more. More likes, more money, more status. But the Stoics knew the truth. He who is content with little is rich, and he who craves without end is poor, no matter how much he owns. Imagine chasing after every new phone, car, or status symbol. The satisfaction lasts for a moment before the hunger returns, stronger than before. Now imagine someone who has mastered their desires, who enjoys what they have without constantly reaching for more. That person walks through life lighter, freer, unchained. The Stoic approach is not to reject desire entirely, but to master it, to distinguish between what is necessary and what is empty. Once you learn this discipline, desires no longer pull you by the collar. You hold the leash, and for the first time, you walk freely. 8. Adversity reveals who you really are. It's easy to appear strong when life is smooth, when comfort cushions your every step. But adversity, hardship, loss, failure, strips away the mask and reveals who you truly are. Epictetus, born a slave, crippled, and tested by endless hardship, knew this better than anyone. He taught that difficulty is not misfortune, but opportunity, a stage upon which your character is proven. In adversity, excuses fall silent, and your true nature speaks. Think of a soldier in battle. Training in peace means little until the test of combat comes. Similarly, our values mean little until they are tested by life's storms. The loss of a job reveals whether you are resilient or bitter. An insult reveals whether you are governed by anger or by reason. Illness reveals whether you cling to despair or practice gratitude for what remains. The Stoics urge us to see adversity not as an obstacle, but as a mirror. When life grows hard, do not ask, "Why me?" Instead ask, "Who will I choose to be in this?" For in hardship, the mask falls, and the truth of your character shines. 9. Control your reactions, not the world. The Stoics taught a timeless truth. We cannot control the world, only our response to it. Every day things will happen beyond your power. Delays, insults, betrayals, storms both literal and metaphorical. Most people waste their lives wrestling against what cannot be changed, filling themselves with anger and bitterness. The Stoics offered another way. Shift your focus inward, where your freedom lies. Your reaction, not the event itself, determines whether you remain at peace or fall into turmoil. Imagine being cut off in traffic. You can explode in rage, ruin your day, and let one stranger's decision dictate your peace. Or you can simply breathe, accept it, and continue calmly. Multiply that mindset across a lifetime, and you begin to see the power of Stoic control. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Master this, and you are no longer a prisoner of circumstances. The world may be wild, but inside you remain unshaken. 10. Choose reason over emotion. Emotions are not enemies, but left unchecked, they can destroy us. Anger burns bridges. Fear paralyzes action. Envy poisons relationships. The Stoics did not teach us to suppress feelings, but to place reason as the captain of the ship. Emotions are waves. They rise and fall, often without warning, but reason is the anchor that keeps us steady. By pausing before reacting, by questioning whether our response serves virtue, we take back control. Picture someone insulted at work. One reaction is to lash out, escalating the conflict and damaging relationships. Another is to pause, reflect, and respond with calm strength. Which one demonstrates power? Which one preserves dignity? Choosing reason does not mean being cold. It means directing emotions toward good. Courage, love, and compassion are also emotions, but when guided by reason, they elevate us. The Stoics invite us to govern, not be governed, and in doing so, we become the masters of our own lives. 11. Serve something greater than yourself. The Stoics believed we are not isolated beings, but citizens of a larger whole, a family, a community, even the universe itself. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that he was a limb of the body of humanity, not separate from it. When we serve only ourselves, life grows small, filled with trivial concerns, but when we serve something greater, whether justice, truth, or the good of others, our lives expand with meaning. Think of the difference between a person who lives only for personal gain and one who devotes themselves to something beyond their own comfort. The first is easily shaken when fortune turns, for their happiness depends on selfish desires. The second, however, endures with strength because they are rooted in purpose larger than themselves. Serving others, acting with justice, standing for what is right. These are not only moral duties, but sources of unshakable joy. In giving, the Stoics remind us we gain the deepest form of fulfillment. 12. Every day is a new beginning. One of the most empowering Stoic lessons is this: no matter how many mistakes you have made, each morning is a fresh start. The past is gone, the future is not guaranteed. Only this moment is in your hands. Marcus Aurelius began each day reminding himself to live according to virtue, no matter what happened yesterday. This perspective frees us from the chains of regret and procrastination. Today is enough. Today is everything. Imagine carrying a heavy bag of regrets everywhere you go. Each mistake, each failure, each wrong word spoken, it weighs you down. But the Stoics say, drop it. The past cannot be changed, but the present can be lived rightly. Each sunrise is an invitation to rise stronger, to choose again, to act with wisdom now. Life is not about never falling. It is about rising every time you do. With this mindset, every day becomes a chance to renew yourself, to live as if it were your first day, and also your last. Conclusion: the sculpted life. These 12 Stoic lessons are not ancient relics. They are living tools waiting for you to use them. They teach us resilience in the face of hardship, discipline in the face of desire, courage in the face of fear, and clarity in the face of life's chaos. The Stoics remind us that true strength is not found in controlling the world, but in mastering ourselves. And when you live by these principles, you discover a freedom no external force can take away. At Sculpted Grace, we believe that philosophy is not about theory, but about transformation. Each day is a chance to practice, to let go of what you cannot control, to live with virtue, to rise from adversity, and to serve something greater than yourself. The choice is always yours. Will you drift through life at the mercy of events, or will you stand firm, guided by wisdom? Remember, the sculptor does not wait for the stone to shape itself. They pick up the chisel and carve with intention. Your life is the same. Pick up your chisel, shape your days, sculpt your grace,